I I work at an engineering company. I'm the only deaf worker there. Before I was in a very the area where I sat was very friendly. The flooring I could feel when people walked up to me, and it was really nice. And it was in a quieter room with maybe four other people, but my back was turned to them, so I had to get a mirror and put it in front of me so I could see when people walking up to me. I kind of had to pass as hearing for most of the time. I couldn't use ASL in my work environment without being kind of looked down upon and seen as less of a person. I definitely had to put into a lot of effort and trying to figure out what people were saying. Lip reading, like I said, feeling the vibrations off of the floor, made it very clear that I do not use phones ever. Phones are not something I will ever use. They didn't really do any accommodating whatsoever. It was kind of like I was left to figure that out on my own. There was no legal process we went through because that just didn't happen. So it was kind of like I would figure out things on my own and just kind of put them into place for myself, like having a mirror in front of me so I can see who's walking behind me. Trying to exceed expectations people have of you because they kind of assume you can't do anything, and you kind of have to work that much harder just to meet their expectations, if that makes sense.
Hi, I'm an Australian deaf speaking person. I do know how to do sign language. I'm in Australian, which is Australian Sign Language anyway. But most of the time I've worked in hearing environment and work environment, and I've been in retail for over 15 years. So I've had a few different jobs in different departments, in different kind of stores. The one that was most interesting for me was working in the electronics store. The electronics store, I was in communication technology department. So the communication technology department that works involve phone, cell phones, mobile phones, sat navs, GPS, cameras, radios, things that require listening. So imagine a deaf person working in communication. That was really difficult. It was interesting but difficult. Like, I had to sell phones and the customer would ask me how's the sound quality on that. So yeah, I kind of had to bump my way through it because it's just, I had to sell the item. So that was one of the downside of that business. Even though I've asked the store manager a few times to swap me to a different department, like selling computers or TVs even, but no go. So I had to put up with it for a year. So my other job that I've had, I've always been in a supermarket, which is, it's been great. Depending on the store, the environment, I've always been good. The customers have always been understanding. Like, if they start mumbling and I'll say, I'm sorry, you need to speak up, or you need to speak clearly because I'm deaf. They always like, oh, okay, sorry, I didn't realise. So they will do it. My last job has been great because I had really understanding co-workers, and I even had a deaf co-worker, so we could able to do Auslan and convert in Auslan and do some sign language, and I was able to be involved in communication because I've always missed out, and it's always been good to catch up in conversation in Auslan with her. So, and also my co-workers were interested in learning Auslan, so we had an Auslan trainer came out and they had some free training session in that language, and most of them forgot what they learned, and of course that's what you do when you had like 6 weeks of training. So, but they understood if the customer came in and they understood the basics, like the finger spelling, numbers, and certain things. How are you? So how are you is one of like the basic signs you can learn, and they were able to ask that customer, if they're deaf of course, how are you? So my last job was really great. I had the really most accommodating people. I didn't get the special page system, whereas my co-worker did because he's more deaf, of course, whereas I'm the other part of the spectrum. So yeah, there was a little thing that where I missed out, where the co-workers got it. She got the interpreter to come in. I missed out on that because I wasn't involved under some sort of job program or something, I don't know. It was just confusing. But when she had the interpreter, they made sure that I was on the same time as her, and I was able to follow what was going on. Like when we first had like our training induction sessions, when we first started the business stuff, so I was able to follow through on that. That was the most great part of that job. My job now is okay. I have some understanding co-workers and customers. So that's my job, that's my experience. Thank you.